Well, hello everyone. So welcome to another beginner painting episode of Candace Ann Creates with You. I just want to let everybody know that they can use, for your permanent pen, you can use an ultra fine point Sharpie, works perfectly. And you can also use other colors of Sharpie if you would like. Today, it was brought to my attention that maybe some people don't like to freeform their watercolor. So today I am providing you with a little drawing along with the video. And this isn't a composition. It's going to be for a card, and we're going to layer items up on this one. So we're going to color in the flowers and the butterfly. And then we will go ahead and cut them out and layer them up on a card. So I am using the Crayola paints again today. And I purchased a different brush. And I have watercolor, goodness, I cannot speak today. This is bad. I have clean water and dirty water jars and my little towel, and this is just a student grade watercolor paper. If you wanted, you could take the illustration that I provided down to a copy shop and have them copy it onto cardstock for you. Some cardstock is very good to watercolor on. So what I'm going to do is use water, clear water, to fill in a couple of the leaves. And then I'm going to use yellow and green right on the paper, so they'll mix together well. We're just going to go bold, happy colors. There's too much drama in this world to worry about not being bright. It's kind of an odd thing to say, sorry. Maybe add a little bit of blue. I just want you guys to realize that you can paint some fun little watercolors with cheaper paint. So I'm going to keep doing the leaves here. It's okay to just play and have fun with cheaper supplies until you get a little bit more, maybe confident, or a little bit not worrying about wasting things. I think we worry too much about, I have supplies I haven't used in years because they're expensive and I don't want to use them up. Well, then I don't use them at all, so that makes no sense, I know. I love watercolor because of the various tones that you get with one. Even if I had just used the green only, I would have gotten many tones of green because of how the water reacts with the paint. And these Crayola paints are different because they're dye-based, so you don't get the graining that you get with a nice, a little bit more expensive watercolor. And as we go along here, if you guys are interested, which it seems like my first video, there was a lot of interest, I will go ahead and get into a good student grade and then what I use as a professional watercolorist. So I'm going to shut off the camera and use a blow dryer. I'll be right back. Okay, I've dried the leaves with a blow dryer, and you can layer watercolor. You can keep putting layers upon layers, but you have to make sure it's dry first. And that's one reason I dried everything, because I'm going to mix kind of a darker green here. So I used green, a little bit of blue and a little bit of brown, and so that'll give me a nice dark green here. I'll test it on the side here. And what I'm going to use that for is to put the little stems and veins in the leaves. You could also do this with a permanent, like a Sharpie in green if you wanted to. You could leave it as it is if you wanted to. If you like it without the stems, it's your leaf and it's your choice. So I just like to show you different ways to do things. Also, I'm used to turning the paper when I paint, so I'm going to turn this. Usually I'll turn the page to be closer to me. It's just a habit I have, and when I'm painting without recording, I would be turning the paper all over the place. So that just creates a real subtle leaf. And I want to keep this in warm tones, so I'm going to use yellows and oranges for the flowers. I'm going to wet the petals, this close flower here. I'm going to start with yellow on the inside. Well, I'm going to actually put yellow on the outside. Change my mind. Then I'm going to go in with the orange on the inside here. This Crayola paint doesn't tend to have run around the page. You can lift it and put more water on it because it's a, you know, a kid's watercolor. So you can take the brush and like dry it off, clean it off, dry it off, and then mingle the paint together if you wish to get a more gradated effect. So we will do, I think I'll do oranges and reds on the roses here. So I'm going to go with orange in the background, just real willy-nilly. And then I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I'll go and put the red over the top. I'm going to flip this around and do another yellow flower on this side. And if you notice, a lot of flowers have either brown or green on the inside petal, inside of the petals, the middle of the petals. So you might want to, if you have a flower that you're working from in real life from, which these are just made up, so. Okay, that's not quite dry, so I'm going to work on these little flowers. I think I'll do those in a red also. Just a basic flat color. Kind of messy, but it really doesn't matter. I'm going to take a second to dry this and I'll be right back. So I've dried the flowers, the bigger flowers. I'm going to mix kind of an orangey red back here to put on top of the roses. So I just mixed orange with red. And then I'll just fill in these little C's, these little swoops. Moon shapes, whatever you want to call them. It's okay to be a little loose with it. I mean, you don't have to stay in the lines perfectly. I did a similar rose in the last video, but it was more freeform. It didn't have any outlines to follow. I just thought that since my sister said, hey, you might want to have some outlines for people, it'll give the basic, and then you can go try it without outlines. So once that's actually, I'm going to mess it up a little. I'm just going to go and swirl it a little because I want it to be a little bit more freeform. There you go. So this butterfly, I'm going to do a contrasting color. So I'm going to do it blue and purple, and I'm going to do the little body in green. So I'm going to do that first. Let that dry while I do the middle of these flowers. So I've decided to go with a brown for the middle of these. Maybe with a touch of green right in the middle. I'm going to dry this real fast again, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I've got that dried. I'm going to wet the wings of the butterfly. The top ones first and then the bottom. That way we can get a line in between them. And I'll blow dry in between painting the top wings and the bottom wings. I'm making kind of a layered card with this butterfly on top of the flowers. That's why I want it to be a contrasting color. Crayola blue is very blue. It's very strong. Again, I'm going to blow dry this and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's dry. I'm going to add water to the bottom. To be truthful, I haven't used Crayola paint since my daughter was a little girl. And I've noticed that they have a kind of a sticky quality to them. Not that that's bad. It's just that when you use other, a little bit more professional type of paints, you won't have that stickiness. Like this is actually still kind of wet. Even though I've blow dried the card, 3 or 4 times now. And you can try whatever color combination you want for your butterfly. I just would do contrasting so they show up on top of the flowers. That's just my preference. You know, and if you, right there I dropped some water on that. Sometimes you get drops of water on your watercolors. It's just, call it a happy accident and move on. Anyway, I'm going to dry this. I'll be right back. Okay, the interesting effect is the clear water that dripped on the butterfly actually dried white. So that's really kind of a fun fact about these watercolors, is that you can lift off really easy. So if you just use the plain water, you can lift the color back up and get some nice highlights in your work. I also forgot that I was going to put some lines in the flowers here. So I'm going to mix a light orangish color. It's just orange and yellow. And I'm just going to use that to create some fine lines going up the petals. They're barely visible, but adds a little bit of interest to them. You could leave this part off if you wanted. You don't have to do that. So just for fun and to give it a little bit maybe more whimsy, or I don't know, some more texture to it, I'm going to tap little, so I'm loading the brush and I'm just hitting it on my finger and it's putting little dots all over. And I'm doing this before I cut things out. I think I'll do it with that orange and maybe yellow. Also making a mess on the palette, so I'm going to move the palette. We are going to be cutting around this, so it doesn't really, yellow's not working real well because I didn't have it real wet. There's a couple on there. There, that's better. Oops. Missed my finger. Okay, I'm going to dry this and I'll be right back to cut everything out. So now I'm going to be cutting around the images. I'll speed that up and so you don't have to sit through that. So now I'm going to decide which card that I want to put. I have 3 different shades of green. And I think I like it best on this darker color. So I'm going to quickly assemble it like that using a glue stick. So just a regular old glue stick. I bent some of the leaves so that they kind of come out from the painting. You might need to have some extra glue stick on that area. And make sure that the butterfly is able to fit into the card, on the card. That it doesn't come off the page real badly. And I bent this, I cut the petals and I bent it a little so that it would stick out a little. I do have a couple little extras that I didn't use up here. You could save it for something else. Put it in your journal. Put it on a different card. You could also, if you wanted to add some fun, is add glitter to the card. This would be fun for kids to do. Add some shimmer to the dragonfly wings. Butterfly wings. So used to painting dragonflies. Some glitter on the flower. Maybe on some of the leaves. A little bit on the edge of the flowers. Actually, you could probably use this to glue it down. Might work better than the glue stick. Okay, I'll wait for that to dry and then I'll show you what it looks like. So after the card was done, I added a couple little spots of gems on there. The glitter lifts the Crayola paint, so that would not happen on a quality watercolor, but because this is a washable paint, that as soon as you put anything liquidy on it, it's going to lift off. So just remember that if you go to add glitter or something, that it will probably lift up. All I did is add these little gemstones in a couple places on the card too. Okay, so I was also going to do a little doodle bit here. I had extra leftover watercolor paper, and so I just was playing with colors on it and shapes. You can do that very easily, you know, just make the shape of the flower, then you can go back in and just doodle over the top, and it looks surprisingly good even if it doesn't match exactly the petal shape, just the indication. Kind of looks like a little abstract flower. The doodling over the top kind of pulls it all together. You can even add some little something off to the side, black and white leaf, so it looks like you meant to do that. You could always do a little experimenting with different ways to do the petals. So if you have any extra paper that you just want to play with color on, this is a fun way to do something. I mean, keep in mind the shape of a petal when you doodle over the top. You could also layer up cards with these too. It's just an idea that I was thinking that, hey, this might be kind of fun for people to do. It's very relaxing to me to just sit and doodle flower shapes. I mean, if you're going to throw the piece of paper away anyway, why not have fun with it before you do so? It's all up to your imagination. Just try different shapes, different looks. That's how you, trial and error, that's how you come up with your style and what you like to do and just different things. Well, I hope this helps, and I hope you try to watercolor, because it can be very relaxing, very fun. And this watercolor, I use the Crayola watercolor for this, so you can achieve those colors by just dropping in yellow with the red and a little bit of purple. Maybe the next time I do this, we'll do doodle flowers. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day. Take care.